Hello and welcome to OT, the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, and how to spend it. I'm Felix Schultz and...
I'm Andy Green. How you going, Felix?
Good. I was channeling like race callers there.
I prefer your...
Kentucky Derby.
I prefer your fighting, your boxing fighter announcer voice.
Okay. In the red corner, we've got Andy. In the blue corner, we've got Felix.
Red v blue.
It's a classic combination. Hey, today's guest is, I suspect, a lover, not a fighter.
Also loves red and blue, amongst other colour combinations.
Pretty great colours, I think we can all agree.
Yeah. Can do a lot with them.
No, today I believe, unless we find some previously unearthed archival material, is the last instalment from the Dubai files.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Mate,
your trip to Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, it's rolling around for the next one. We'll just we'll rack them up again. No, we've saved one of the best till last. Manuel Emch, who is the CEO of Louis Erard, which is a really interesting chat. I've spoken to him a few times for like background stuff before, and cool guy.
You're a Louis Erard fan. You've sort of been on them since before their resurgence in coolness, haven't you?
Well, early in the resurgence, and this is, I think it's probably more accurate to say I'm a Manuel Emch fan.
Okay.
But I didn't even realise it at the time because he used to be the creative guy at, oh God, I'm going to forget the name on while we're recording it. It's going to be very embarrassing. Romain Jerome.
Okay.
So he was the guy that did like Pac-Man and Tetris, and he was sort of on that pop culture stuff quite early. And that brand obviously sort of, had some concerns, and he shipped on over to Louis Erard and has done a really interesting job converting what was a company that made some pretty boring, like, $4,000, $3,000 watches into quite a cool, operation that hasn't sort of changed too many in the way of fundamentals, but through, collaboration with Alain Silberstein and, Konstantin Chaykin and Sakon. And
I was going to say they've really used the collaboration model to kind of parlay themselves back into a bit of relevancy, which is, it's tough. So good on them.
Yeah, and he's got another brand. I don't think we talk about in this one because it was still embargoed, but which is a really, really cool thing as well. We'll have to. I reckon we should get him on again. Actually, I think it's probably worth doing. But let's listen to this chat first. And
listen and tell us in the old comments or our Discord, which is of course the number one place we want you. But if not.
Or the YouTube comment section. Channel. You can see us
YouTube
still
comment.
in glorious
our
HD.
videos, I think I said last week our video would be 400% better. I think that was an understatement. I think it's closer to 800% better than the first video we did.
Yeah. We've got some, again, we're still refining and tweaking. OG fans will recognise slight changes in colour, hue and, saturation.
Attire. We're wearing buttons. We're both wearing buttons, which is... Yeah, it shows we've turned up for business.
I didn't shave though, but so it's part of my appeal though.
Well, we can only ask so much of you on a Sunday, Felix, and after the week we've had as well. Busy week.
Should we talk about our busy week first, or should we get to the pop culture amuse-bouche?
Let's start with pop culture. In the spirit of pop culture, talking about Manuel Emch and Louis Erard, I think we should probably continue on with the pop culture theme.
So
you've been doing stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing a few things. Busy week. We'll dip into the busy week. Saw Dune 2 with Hamilton and my brother. That was the cinematic feast that you would expect.
Shout out Morgan. We know you're listening.
Glorious IMAX. Had a lovely dinner at the end of the week. We did a thing we'll talk about in a sec. But there's a very specific category of entertainment that is important to both myself and my family, which is family entertainment that you can all watch and be equally enjoyed by and not want to stab your eyes out. Like, Lego Ninjago is great and all that, but
sure.
there's only so much I can take. Speaking, Lego Masters is a great example of this family entertainment.
Gotcha.
I found a new one, Andy.
What is it?
Red Bull Soapbox Rally.
Oh, classic. Iconic.
Are you across this?
I am.
Did you watch it like back in the day, or?
I did, because there was that kids movie that was about it was like the go-karting. I've got to find out what it's called. Do you remember? You across this?
I might have. Our ages might, because I'm watching it on YouTube. Again, I saw it. I came across it on TikTok. I'm watching it on YouTube like 2019, 2020, like this sort of 40-minute long. I could apparently download the Red Bull app, but I don't need that much Red Bull in my life.
Okay.
But
I think it was called Catch That Kid.
Okay. Let's. I'll write a note down and we'll check that out. That could be tonight's viewing, Andy. No, it's really great. So basically, it's for those not familiar, Red Bull sponsors a very amateur race, soapbox, like where you make your own sort of vehicle. There's a theme, there's a performance, there's a design, and then there's of course the race for speed. And they do it, a la Red Bull across the world. My favorite so far has to be Japan. They take it seriously. The performances are serious.
They do.
And Japan, there's like a lot of corporate entities. So it's that very Japanese, like the companies doing the thing. And
a lot of branding, extravagant
and like
parts.
sort of weird company themes and references. It's very enjoyable. And I think for me, the main thing, that must be a great job as a sportscaster.
You'd be perfect. You'd actually be really good at it.
Well, no, but I mean, like, if you're a professional sportscaster talking about, whatever it is, you have to talk about, rugby, football, and then you get to talk about, Dave and the Ninja Mechanics, and their Transformer Butt 4000. It must be a light relief. It would be the gig in the week that I look forward to.
I think I found it. It's not Catch That Kid. It's Kart Racer.
That makes sense.
Definitely. It's 2003, so it would have been 11 or 12. So yeah, still in that ballpark. But Randy Quaid's in it.
Okay.
So
well, let's check that out off air. We don't need to go into that rabbit hole right now, Andy. What have you been up to? Have you been watching wholesome family entertainment?
Yes, I have. True Detective season 4, Night Country. If you haven't checked out the True Detective series, I mean, go start with season 1. They're all independent of each other. First one was Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson.
Yep.
And also Vince Vaughn was in it, right? Or was he the second one? I
Maybe the second. I only watched the first because the second one got so badly panned I didn't bother.
The first one was incredible. It's this sort of like long, painful, antagonizing experience to watch, and that must have been 10 years ago, so they're trickling out. But I don't think I watched season 3 after season 2. It was a bit weird, so I skipped season 3, but I saw season 4 came out, Jodie Foster, and I was in.
100%. This is like I haven't started seeing it, but they're saying as good as.
It's off. I'm probably 2 or 3 episodes into it from the start. Obviously they're like an hour episode, so it's a fair bit of time so far, but it's very good. She's great. I mean, it just made me miss vintage Jodie Foster. It just made me want to go back into the catalogue.
Jodie Foster's also great.
Jodie Foster is fantastic. But this one is about people in like a remote kind of research station in Alaska that just kind of go missing weirdly, and then they find them, and it's this whole unusual. And I think it's sort of vaguely based off of a true story as well, just around the circumstances of people weirdly going missing and then finding them in an unexplained situation that they still haven't explained type vibes.
It reminds me of there's I don't know how you do with vampire horror. There's an exceptional vampire horror movie based on a comic called 30 Days of Night, which takes that premise of like a remote Alaskan town where there's like a long night and what that would mean for vampires. Horrifying.
Oh, yeah, because of the sun. Yeah. Yeah, bad for vampires. I mean,
good for vampires if it's night.
Yeah, bad for the population. Yeah. Anything to do with Alaska is usually a tick because it's going to be snowy. A lot of treasure hunting happens in Alaska, as you guys know.
Also, have you watched The Thing? Have you watched the original Thing?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and are you aware of the plot twist? They spoil it in like the first few minutes.
No, but don't spoil it for everyone else.
Well, I won't spoil it, but I'll tell you what the spoiler is. So the opening scene of The Thing is this dog runs up and there's like Norwegian hunters trying to shoot it.
Okay.
And they're yelling. And if you spoke Norwegian, you would have the entire plot of the movie spoiled for you in the opening.
And that was accidental?
No, I don't think so. It's clearly scripted. Like they're not saying, like they've got scripted lines, but they're just in Norwegian, which is cool.
didn't think anyone would pick up on it.
Maybe they dub it in Norway to Swedish, and something.
Yeah, but I mean, Alaska's a big tick for me. Crumb's a big tick for me. Vampires, and my fourth tick is Nicolas Cage. So if he was in the mix, it's guaranteed. It's a guaranteed night in from me.
Speaking of nights in, we had a night out. We had a night out this week. Not just any night out. Like I had a few nights out, but we had a night out on the town in Sydney with our friends at Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy, we've been doing stuff with Kennedy for a long time now. They were sort of probably one of the first, brands to support OT.
Australian retailer for all our...
Australian retailer. They've got a whole bunch of brands. There's Sydney Boutique at the Star, which is, Casino, Cartier, Piaget, Frank Mueller. Who else? They had Zenith in for the night.
Graph, if you want big diamonds, I believe.
A lot of jewelry, a lot of watches, a lot of high-end bling, basically. And the watches that were on display were blingy. A lot of colour, a lot of gem setting.
You were taken by that. There was a dazzling Cartier that I could see you in, Andy.
Which was pretty much every single one of them at this point. There was rainbow Frank Mueller's there for you, and I had to check your pockets on the way out.
Look, I mean, so we had obviously we didn't, Kennedy had an event planned to sort of, not relaunch, but I think they'd done some work on the space, had a bit of a revamp, and they thought they'd, celebrate with some light drinks and amuse-bouche nibbles. And we came along to sort of spruik watches, which was great.
Entertain, educate.
Yeah. Which is, it's always nice seeing the Sydney crew. It's not as regular for us.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't get up to Sydney as much as I used to. I don't think you do either. So always a good opportunity.
See some internet friends IRL.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Great watches on just on the guests as well, seeing what people kind of turn up with when they go to a watch event. I always find interesting because they want to put a statement out there and kind of send a message. You kind of like what do I select? What do I select to wear for this evening when I know I'm going to be around other people that kind of get it?
Yeah.
As opposed to like a normal situation. So yeah, and we go through the same thing. Like, what watch should I wear? What watch should I wear? Plus when there's travel as well, like anytime I get on a flight, that changes things because I'm pretty clumsy. So knocking around, bagging on armrests, overhead lockers, luggage, cabs. It's usually not low maintenance for me.
Sure.
But yeah.
What did you wear?
What a time to be alive, and good for us to go on a little trip as well.
So Kennedy, that was a nice night. We'll link up. We'll share some pictures when we get them, and it'll be it was a hoot. We'll put a link in the bio if you want to check them out.
I'm sure we'll put up some photos
Mueller
as well. Put up some photos somewhere. I should mention, Felix. We did something else, which I don't know when we can talk about it. But we saw some watches under embargo.
I won't say the brand.
No, I won't say the brand.
Don't. Just someone exhibiting at Watches and Wonders.
So a brand at Watches and Wonders. We got to see. We had to sign our lives away. They will come and kill us.
Yeah, they won't. They'll just legally
the
kill
end
us.
of OT. And I say this because I've just been pulling the photos off my camera to have a look at them. I've been reminded, but there's some heat coming. That's all I'll say. If there's any hot watches, I guess I've broken embargo a bit, but no, it made me a little bit more excited to get ready for this trip.
And how's your trip? I know we've got to get Manuel on, and we've got to do that in a sec. But how's your trip planning going?
My calendar for the week I'm there is a lot better. A lot more things firmed up. A lot of the sort of key brands that I want to see have been locked in. A lot of people kind of in the background that I'm chatting to kind of catch up with as well. So getting their flights are booked, accommodations all booked. So it's feeling real. It's all sort of. It's starting to happen. It's all falling into place now. I'd say I am excited to get over there. And now that people are sort of talking about it, like, I'll be there, you kind of get that excitement back. So, yeah, and genuinely, like I said last time, very keen to go see some watch manufacturers, especially IWC and Cartier.
That's convenient because they're the ones you're seeing.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones I'm going to. So at the start of the trip, end of the trip, it's just going to be watch overload. So I think I figured out the gear I'm going to take, the kit. Going to be able to record on the go, take photos, take video on the go. So it's all feeling like it's coming together.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Exactly. Well, speaking of coming together, this is the last Dubai files from you. I'm gonna take it as a competition and a challenge to gather more interviews in a short window of time.
I want to be listening to Andy at Watches and Wonders interviews in 2026.
Yeah, after it'll be 3 years behind. But yeah, we should get Emmanuel on.
Manuel Emch, CEO, founder, boss of Louis Erard. What's your job title?
I don't have any job title.
Okay. The guy.
That would be very sexist nowadays, no? Or I don't know.
Yeah,
Look, I decided, what was that now, 7 years back, that I never want to be CEO anymore.
Yes.
But then how to put this in when you run the show without wanting the title, and when people still associate you. So I got this horrible title of delegate of the board of directors.
I remember this. Yeah, I've written an article about it. I'm like, what the fuck is that? What is this?
Well, look, I'm an independent spirit. I need my freedom. Louis Erard in Noirmont, a lovely little town, if you like it, in the middle of nowhere. And I live in Zurich. I need the vibrant city. I travel obviously a lot, so I would say having a CEO title means that you have a lot of operational responsibility, and people then feel that decision taking is often something that has to be approved. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want people to approve their decision. I want them to be empowered to take the decision in the best interest of the company. And then if their mistakes are made, and people do, and even myself, a lot of mistakes, just to understand and improve. And I think this kind of logic where I'm not the CEO, where there is no CEO, where we work in a pretty, let's say, horizontal organization, that there's no assistant or whatever, everybody's responsible. They work in a team, we work a lot online, we work a lot in let's say, in a pretty communitarian way with WhatsApp or Google Drive or Teams.
Sure. Yeah.
It works very, very well. Everybody is happy, everybody is pretty autonomous, and everybody understands the scope and the responsibility. And I mean, there's always hiccups here and there, but these hiccups are actually minor in comparison to the speed, efficiency, and autonomy that we get.
And is this something that you've obviously made the decision not to be a CEO, but like you've looked at your previous experience, in running different companies or working for different companies, and you've made a conscious decision to is it a healthier way of working? Is it a more sustainable way of working? Or is it just
No, I think it was, it's very interesting. When I was asked to so basically in 2018, the shareholders and back then CEO called me saying, look, we've had a few difficult years. We had very, very good momentum at the beginning because this value proposition to offer the most affordable Swiss mechanical watch on the market was extremely quickly successful. But as usual, price is not a USP, at least not in our business. And competition is not sleeping. So very quickly, a lot of other brands started to see, there's this newcomer, or let's say there's this brand who manages to take a lot of market share with the price. Let's compete. And when you have
bidding war.
But bidding war, not even that much. You have this verticalized organization, big volume companies. Well, it's very hard to compete with a brand that has manufacturing backend like ETA, or a brand that says, okay, let's take one or two products to undercut. And basically they lost that kind of strength, and then they just what often happened, they started to panic a little bit and started to do all sorts of things. Including, widespread. It became very generic. And when they called me, they basically said, look, we got to the end of that. We've been losing money for a few years. We don't know whether we should stop, close down the company, or continue. And you have a reputation of a fireman. That's a bit my reputation.
You mean someone that puts out fires? The fixers come.
Well, you start with the.
Do you start the fires?
No. You see, first you gotta light up the fires. You gotta get rid of the fires. Then you have to see the structure. and then you keep what is healthy, and then you build around.
okay.
And if there's things you need to torn down, you torn them down, because otherwise you don't build a house. I think it's actually this allegory of you cannot build if you don't, to a certain extent, torn down certain things is pretty evident. Anyway, they came to me and I said, okay, we got to have a new strategy. But I was very happy in my consulting role of being free to go wherever I felt it was interesting. But I liked the challenge, and the challenge obviously was very interesting. But what I found, and really what I thought was actually the most valuable thing within the company, were the people.
Sure.
Why? Because these people, they were a small team, but they were a very resilient team, because they had gone through.
They had some tough time.
They had almost 10 tough years behind them, and they sticked for it. And I said to myself, look, there's people who have had a really hard time, but they stand for it, they fight it for it, they didn't let loose. So, I mean, this is probably my best asset. And I didn't want to, and they felt not empowered enough, because obviously one of the reasons why I went there was probably also the strategy was wrong, and there was too much interventionism from the management, back-end management. And I said, okay, let's just give them more independence, give them more empowerment. And this is also, it fitted me in my role as not being there daily, but it also fitted the company because the people were ready.
And it's interesting, and I think I'll ask you in a minute, but from my point of view, it's working, because over the years, every so often I get PRs or brand people coming to me and go, oh, who's, especially at this sort of price point, like, who's interesting, who's doing, what's cool, and often it'll be, I don't. In Australia, you don't really have a presence necessarily. It's often, it's Louis Erard. They just did this interesting collaboration. Louis Erard. They did another interesting collaboration. So that was more of a comment that you're doing well, but but I think the central thing about what I think of this iteration of Louis Erard is collaboration.
Yes. Well, because it's a shortcut. When you have a rocky and bumpy way in front of you, if you have turbulences to let's call it this way. You're on the runway with your aircraft, and you got to fly to a destination, and that it doesn't look very good, the outlook. Well, you either fly into the clouds and get the turbulences, or you just try to stay below and find maybe find a different cruising outfit. And a quicker one. And I think with collaborations, obviously, has become let's call it the lighthouse of Louis Erard. I mean, it's so powerful, and some of them are so strong that the attention is there. But it's around this lighthouse we still build the house. And it takes a bit more time. Métiers d'art, I think, which to a certain extent are also somehow a collaboration.
I'm assuming they're not your internal skilled artisans doing that, are they?
No.
It's just less public facing.
Well, we would like to be more public facing, but when it's very funny. Yes, Donzé people know. Full Fire Enamel Donzé know. Anita Parsche, people would know.
Yep.
Then it starts to be a bit challenging. Okay, why? Because for years and years and years, the watch industry has kept these artisans in the shadow. For reasons, it's same with the watch designer. Look, it's very, very funny. How many designers do you know that design watches?
Two.
Well,
Sharon Genta and Eric.
Okay,
maybe.
That's it.
Well, maybe there's more.
No, but there is more, and there is very, very talented ones. And somehow the brands have this kind of cathedral approach to say, okay, look, there's only one God you preach to.
The brand, the name on the dial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reality is there is more people around it. And I think it's time. And I believe this is what you see everywhere else and pretty much every other industry.
Yeah.
Put the creative people, put the artisans. Put these people in the spotlight.
Where does that come from? Because I have this conversation a lot, and it's like fashion can do it. It's a creative director of Louis Vuitton.
Yeah,
they're both. They're not. They're
and then
working
even a
together.
merchandising director on top in the carry.
Yeah. Why are the watch brands afraid of it? Where does it come from?
It's a subtle mix, if it can be subtle, of the way business has been done. The fact that the watch industry, to a certain extent, is a bit of a secret world.
Sure.
Okay. Also, because there's a certain, I don't like to use that word, but it's a bit the case. There's a bit of a control over the output in media, at least for long years. No, it's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
social
it's
media.
still the case.
Yeah, social media is we've seen what social media can have as an impact, and the very recent example with the auction world is just part of this. So it wasn't necessary until now.
Yeah,
it's an industry where at the end of the day the creative person has not always been so important. Fashion, it's all about collections every other day. You got to have a creative guy. It's a sellable argument. We haven't integrated it. And then I think there's also one little aspect that, this is a little bit of a side note to some of my fellow watchmakers. Maybe some of them believe that it's difficult to share visibility and everybody. I remember one CEO 20 years back said that, he does everything. He wakes up at 4 a.m, designs a display, then goes to bed, then calls the market, sells them.
It's the Elon Musk of the one.
It's been this industry also very much people driven, and I think or let's say CEO driven. Okay, and I think again with the change, this mix of independence becoming more and more present, and it is changing, but it is changing at a slow pace. And see, if again, I take Donze Cadron, I take the Rose engine turn, but probably the most relevant element is the wood marquetry with Bastien.
Yeah,
I mean, he's incredible craftsman, and we try to put them in the spotlight as much as we can. We make films about them. We communicate their name, but there are also people who have been, watchmakers or artisans. Often in our business are also quite. How do you say? They like to be on the bench. They don't like to be in the spotlight. A creative designer, he needs to go out on stage. Whenever there's a fashion show, he needs to be there.
I want to ask you about something, but I think that's an institutional thing that needs to change slowly because, here at Dubai Watch Week, there's I missed it, I didn't see it, but there was a talk by Stephen McDonnell, the Irish watchmaker, who is very much like that. But it was many people have told me it was the most moving thing they've seen, and this is. I understand that, like, I'm a watchmaker, I work on my bench, but
let me even go a bit, again, a little bit more provocative. But we've seen the speeches of the GPHG, or a lot of us. The most moving ones are the ones that come from the people. I mean, actually, some of these, what was it? The price of the how do you call it? Student. First year student are often the best speeches of the whole GPHD.
Because I haven't done it before. Yeah. Anyway,
but I agree with you. I mean, it's a work in process. I just believe that I'm a very intuitive person. I don't know. I'm a very sensitive and intuitive person. That's why I feel that this is the right thing to do, the right way to go. It is in a global perspective of transparency, of openness, of access, of breaking these kind of ivory towers philosophies. You look at places like Dubai Watch Week. People want to interact. They want to talk to the people. They want to understand. They don't want to just have this kind of cathedral with a big logo on top of it and pray to get their products. They also want to have a bit of a intimate, personal experience. And I think this is also where there's a subtle difference between the need and the desire. And I think the watch industry is very much in the desire, because the need part is very much, I mean, I'm not talking about social status, but I'm talking about utility, instrumental, the measurement instrument in itself. And we are very much on the scope of pure desirability.
Yeah, sure.
And that also means that that people want to see people. People want to. There's a lot about this kind of artistic logic, because probably what is even further on the scope on our side is art and design, paintings, contemporary. Was that even more where the utility is even less?
I want to come back to collaborations. No, it's absolutely fine. How are you? There's so much right now. How are you planning for them not to be cool? Do you know what I mean? Like, or is it always going to be? Is that the way of the future? Like, what is Louis Erard like?
Oh, look,
without those lighthouse moments of Messena and Chaykin and Firefighting.
It's very hard for me to answer because I mean, I can anticipate but not predict the success of certain collaborations versus others. And the only thing I can say is that it's a growing momentum. The very first one, which probably one of the coolest ones we did, the very first one with Alain Silberstein, but there was only little people who were aware of it.
Well, the next one, everyone bloody knew about.
Yeah, but every other one that we do, we add something. But also at the same stage, every new collaboration, we add something, but also take something away. And the taking something away is very simple: is the anticipating effect. The more you create anticipation, the more you risk disappointment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because people say, okay, wow, so they already project what potentially could come next, and if it doesn't, it can be a disappointment. So it's a very thin line of being right or wrong. I think the collaborations, and we all agree on this, has been a bit the talk of the town in general, not just for Louis Erard. Maybe we brought it to the extreme.
You built a business model around it. It seems to me,
and I can agree. I can agree to an extent with this, but I think as long as collaborations are honest in the way they're done with the people. I mean, I would never do a collaboration with somebody I don't consider as somebody that I have respect, or that he has respect for me, or that I find cool dude, or somebody I would hang out for dinner or for a drink.
Okay.
And I think for me the most important thing, and this is with the people, I mean, or something that doesn't excite me personally, I think it has to be genuine. That is one of the fundamental parts. If it's too parachuted, it's a tough thing. Look, what you have seen so far is it's a small part of the strategy that I have put in place for Louis Erard. It's obviously much more global, and I think we are on a good run. I have 50 projects in the pipeline. Out of them, about 7 collaborations with watchmakers.
Yeah, nice.
But then there's plenty of other collaborations, because I just like to, push boundaries into fields of architecture, contemporary art, into other fields. Because I think there is something, now that I have a certain community that understands values and gets excited by it, I think I can also bring this community into other fields. It doesn't, but I could not do this at the beginning, because if I start with a contemporary artist, people don't know.
Yeah.
I don't create the links, and I need to create these bridges and links to bring them. So it is a part of the business model for sure, but it's just a part, even if it's an important.
I don't know if you'll be able to answer this question, but I'm sure you'll be able to find, you'll be able to find a fun way around it. Who would you love? What is the dream collaborative partner for you? Like, if it's a person or what's like.
Well, look, I have
an unobtainable dream. Let's keep it. Let's say, I don't know, George Daniels. That would be challenging.
Yeah, that would be challenging. I mean, look, I gotta admit, I talked to all of them, because most of them are my friends.
Yeah.
I'd love to do something with Recep.
Oof.
For instance.
Yeah.
I know at this stage,
it's a long list of people knocking on his door, I suspect.
I don't know. I'm not even sure about this. I think we talked about it. He said, but there's also a time for it. I don't think it's the right time for him, and I respect that. I talked to Max, but then Max talked to me saying, why don't you rather do something for me that means something for you? That's another problem with
classic. Well, I mean, they've got a nice little thing with Moser. They do it for each other. It works out,
or even with his math additions or something, which could be that. I mean, obviously there is some things which could be. I mean, again, I also talked with Edward about it. I said, let's do one. I said, yeah, but you already did a female 5 years back. I said, come on. That's unfair. That wasn't a collaboration. That was just a product that was a bit in my transition phase when I needed to quickly find solutions.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and non watchmakers who are like in the world of like maybe art or design, or is there anyone you?
Oh, for sure. I talked with David Chipperfield, which I'm a big fan of. Said, why not? I talked with Zaha Studio. Because I think there could be some interesting things. I mean, I'm a curious person. I talk with a lot of people. I have some really cool contemporary artists. I would love to do something with Jeff Koons, for instance.
Yeah, right.
Or
pay him enough, and I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah. Or Damien Hirst could be fun as well. I mean, I think it's
Banksy.
Banksy. I tried.
Maybe Banksy's one of your watchmakers, and you don't know.
Yeah, there are not so many there, so I'll probably figure out if there's a guy with a hoodie and sunglasses assembling some watches. But no, yes, for sure. I mean, and maybe one day we will be there. And because I learned this with RJ quite a lot. You know, when I started this concept with video games initially, and I managed to convince mostly Taito lawyers, to do the Space Invaders. And then we did the Pac-Man, and then we did the Tetris, and suddenly the momentum became so strong that we were contacted by the different companies.
By the IPs. And
So Pokemon, for instance, and a few others, to say, okay, let's do something. You guys are doing cool stuff. Talk about. So my secret desire.
Would you go down that road again, or is that?
No, I mean, look. A lot of people say, "Oh, look,
Tag Heuer did so well with I think there's an appetite for it, but
there is. There is. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, there's a lot of Cathedral inspiration in some of the métier d'art and how the cases are designed." And I gotta admit, there is a bit of my philosophy, and it's not Cathedral; it's my philosophy that I put into Cathedral.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, and maybe one day, not so far in a near future, we might have a little bit of RJ philosophy in Louis Erard as well, because it's what I am. I think at the end of the day, whether you look at Cathedral or you look at RJ, it's a lot of what I am that I put into the brands, and there's no reason why I will not put more of what I am into Louis Erard.
Cool. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Are you? I don't know if I have anything next. No, I think that's it. I don't think we need to talk anymore. I think that's a lovely summary.
There's a lot of information, maybe too much, but
maybe let's visit Louis Erard's Instagram. I'm sure there'll be some interesting collaborations popping up by the time this comes out. Who knows?
Yeah, well, look,
and your latest green Alain Silberstein tourbillon is very, very nice.
Well, see, this is another point that we have so far, and I'm giving you a little bit of future outlook. It's always interesting. So we did what I call the classical collection. Within the classical collection, we're a limited core collection, okay, métier d'art, and I want to roll them out, all of them. So I started with full fire enamel because this is what I started with Cathedral with the Grand Second, and this has always been like my absolute, I don't know, trail dial, full fire enamel by Donzé. Then we did rose engine turned wood marquetry, but I'd love to do cloisonné, chanlevé, paillonné, flanqué, call them all, because I think there is, in this industry, most of the time métier d'art are just topped up on complications, because then it's easier or at least brands believe it's easier to sell because the clients, they understand it and they're willing to have it, but on top of something already quite expensive. And this idea of creating affordable métier d'art, putting in the light as artisans at accessible price points, very, very important for me. It's actually more important than collaboration, surprisingly. Then the collabs. We still have the whole sports line that we haven't launched yet. And I still haven't done all the partnerships.
And your integrated steel watch either.
Exactly. Sounds pretty much in line. Obviously a bit different from the usual. And then within the sports line, I'm very much excited to bring in not people, because collaborations are people, but icons, generational stuff, brands, concepts, which are not people, but which are, let's say, more abstract
themes or
I don't know.
Exciting. I'm looking forward to Geneva next year.
Or later on.
No pressure. All right. Well, lovely to chat to you, Manuel.
Thank you too.
So good to see you in Dubai Watch Week.
Thank you.
Bye.
And thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Andy, that was Manuel Emch, the man behind the revived and revitalized and exciting Louis Erard. Interesting guy. I really appreciate his take on business. Another frank and forthright discussion.
Yeah, and you were spot on about getting him on for a second time. I absolutely agree. Sometimes these chats in the hallways or as you pass by have a quick 20-minute slot. By the time you set up, it goes by very quickly. And you know when you're chatting to someone and you're interviewing them, you know that there's more, and you kind of go in with a set agenda, and it makes it difficult to kind of go and explore. Like, I'd love to hear the backstory a bit more on some of the previous work on the resume as well, and kind of get into that.
Well, he's also got his other brand that we Colloquium, which is really sort of 3D printed, three-dimensional, really, really cool. I think he's doing it with Horrifile, maybe. I've
seen people that have been in the industry and working in it and at a few different sort of brands or companies. They you just naturally gather a lot of interesting stories and facts, and there's always a lot to unpack with people that are a bit of a journeyman, as they say. Anyway,
thanks, Manuel. Thanks, belated thanks, I suppose, to Kennedy. Thanks to everyone for listening. How can people, continue to engage and support the old pod, Andy?
If we haven't said it enough, join our Discord. We link it up every week. Get on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe there. Make sure you're watching. Put on the TV in the background, honestly. If you have a workplace that has screens that you could put something on and it's something boring
in the
like
elevators.
The news, outdoor displays. If you happen to own an advertising agency that can hook that up for us,
if
please
you work
do.
For Ooh Media.
No, don't give them a free shout out. If you, like a doctor's clinic, throw it up on the screen for us. Throw it up on the screen. Like, what's the big deal? What else is playing right now?
If you're a sales associate in a watch boutique and you need someone to if you're trying to get someone over the line with maybe, I don't know, Frank Mueller, Cartier or Zenith.
We're here. We're here.
We've also got to do Substack, because hopefully I'm going to make a verbal promise. By the time this comes out, this watch will have been all over it.
What watch is that?
It's small and pink, and it comes from Glasgow.
Oh, yes. No, you need to do that. Why have we not talked about this as well?
I think we have, haven't we?
I don't think we have. I just sit on it. It's a pink watch with a tan strap. Needs to be in a Substack.
All right. Let's go.
All right. Make sure if you like OT, you're liking it, subscribing it, telling your friends, your sisters, your aunties, your uncles, just absolutely everyone. Send it to everyone in your life and help us get the word out.
Yep.
Peace out.